was the best of times. It was the worst of times. It was the age of wisdom. It was the age of foolishness. It was the epoch of belief. It was the epoch of incredulity. It was the season of light. It was the season of darkness. It was the spring of hope. It was the winter of despair. That is the opening sentence from my father's favorite book, A Tale of Two Cities, from which he drew his favorite line from English literature, spoken by the protagonist and lawyer, Sidney Carleton, who took the place of the man who he had defended in court. It is a far, far better thing that I do than I have ever done before. It is a far, far better rest that I go to than I have ever known. And a litigation over a mere trespass that lasted just 6 minutes before capture, unlike the 6 days it took to apprehend a football star to prosecute. But like the infamous murder that divided a nation after a slow-speed chase of a Bronco on an empty highway, it is the underlying issues that have created the tensions in this tale of two cities. Yet the difference between the two African-American criminal defendants is that this one, in which I was involved, arose because of my landmark decision to try, on profession of faith, to save a life. In one city, the city of Arlington, where I live, subsequent to the arrest, I was denied emergency shelter during a winter visited by an unprecedented winter cyclone bomb during hypothermia season, was subjected to predatory towing of the vehicle that became my home, and to date have had at least 22 pages of police reports filed against me. In the city of Arlington, where I live, I've been subjected to vandalism and theft of my personal property with impunity, and an anonymous internet stalker operating in violation of federal law has been granted unlimited license to continue a reign of terror because not even a petition for a writ of mandamus to compel the Commonwealth Attorney to prosecute any one of these crimes, including the cyberbully whose home address has been identified only after the performance of a do-it-yourself investigation that was able to analyze forensic data from the trail of at least 108 separate emails that were transmitted to 2 separate email accounts over the course of a year and a half. But it is our prayer that on the last day of February, this lawlessness will reach its culminating point, because a motion for summary judgment to compel the court to decide on the complaint against the Commonwealth Attorney and in favor of the complaining party has been requested to be heard. Yet in that second and neighboring city of Alexandria, where the story began on the day before the first Sunday of Advent, the saga continues. It was in Alexandria, where an arrest was completed consequent to illegal searches and seizures that provided advance warning of the plan to enter the second busiest abortion mill in the Commonwealth. It was in Alexandria on the second floor of the Landmark Towers condominium, where within just 6 minutes, despite dispatching from at least 10 minutes away, an armada of an estimated 20 police officers, augmented by emergency services vehicles, responded to a trespass in progress, where the abortion facility manager warned the pro-life activists as they entered the condominium before even reaching the abortion mill that the police had already been called. It was in the city of Alexandria that well under 43 minutes passed by while the abortion mill continued to receive customers with no visible complaint from any patron that Miranda rights were violated immediately after the standard warning was read by police from a standard issue warning card, and where the manager of the Alexandria Women's Health Clinic swore a statement to police with perjured facts complaining about prayers out loud and religious songs that she and at least 2 other persons claimed to have witnessed, despite the fact that within the first 6 minutes before the police arrived, she could not have seen the things she had imagined and placed in her sworn statement, rendering it at least inadmissible hearsay, if not perjury, introduced by the Commonwealth's principal witness for the prosecution and allowed by the court. It was in the city of Alexandria that all 3 pro-life advocates were convicted for their faith profession in the absence of credible evidence and denied exculpatory evidence to aid in their defense that the U.S. Supreme Court and the courts of the Commonwealth make mandatory for release. It was in the city of Alexandria that mandatorily releasable evidence was disclosed after the conviction, but a day before the scheduled trial on appeal, and in the city of Alexandria after continuance, that scheduled trial that co-defendants were joined, defined precedent at the appellate level. It was in the city of Alexandria that both the court and the prosecution refused twice to dismiss a discretionary charge for which there was no evidence, and engaged in willful blindness to prevent exculpatory surveillance video evidence to be examined by the court, postponing the review of that evidence to the time of trial, after prejudicial evidence would have been permitted to taint the outcome of that trial. It was in the city of Alexandria that one defendant was convicted contrary to law in absentia to a trial about which he was not even aware, and contrary to law while a petition for removal to federal court was still pending. It was in the city of Alexandria that the federal court took 3 months to find and decide on a priority matter regarding the removal of a state court criminal action to federal court to rescue a criminal defendant from malicious prosecution rooted in religious discrimination. And in the city of Alexandria, where that same federal court decided to summarily repeal the civil rights law provision that had permitted that equitable remedy that has permitted that action for a century and a half. And it was in the city of Alexandria, while an extraordinary request for reconsideration to federal court, as well as an appeal to the appeals court in Richmond was still pending, that the Commonwealth demanded payment of fines before both cases were finally decided. And so today we wait. We wait for an Arlington Circuit Court to compel a Commonwealth Attorney to fulfill her statutory obligation to prosecute multiple felonies that made a victim of the same man being prosecuted for discretionary offense in Alexandria, while being denied basic constitutionally protected civil rights. And while the worst thing discussed by progressive leaders in that Democratic stronghold is that allegedly racially offensive costume their governor wore to a party decades ago, and the changing of the names of schools that remind them of conduct of Democrats in a civil war over a century ago. This continues to move forward. But still, if there is any credence in a heavenly providence or even divine retribution, it is ironic that just as one criminal defendant maliciously pursued in a prosecution at the choice of the Commonwealth Attorney and not mandatory, was evicted from a commercial property in the city of Alexandria because of his position of opposition to abortion and his dissent to progressive leaders, the Alexandria Women's Health Clinic, the abortion mill once located in the Landmark Towers condominium, was recently evicted from its former lease space on the second floor because that commercial residential complex chose to avoid the bad publicity brought by an abortion mill, especially while the incumbent governor has gone to the extreme position of endorsing infanticide. I do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office on which I am about to enter. So help me, God. Not unmindful of the future is the motto of Washington and Lee University. My name is Major Mike Webb, and I am running for U.S. Congress. In liberty, with honor and excellence, the South shall rise again. Honest. This advertisement was authorized by